gang. Well, if it isn't Big Jim Lamon.
We're tired of being pushed around.
And inflation.
And open borders.
And gas prices.
The good people of Arizona have had enough of you. It's time for a showdown. I'm Jim Lamon.
That's Jim Lamon appearing in a political ad I think was dreamt up by a 12-year-old stuck in 1957 because, okay. Anyways, if you couldn't tell, those three outlaws from the DC gang was old Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and also Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly is the Democrat that he's running against in Arizona. The same Mark Kelly whose wife, Gabby Giffords, was shot at a political event, nearly died, and is still feeling the effects today. Here's a little piece on her that was done by NBC last year on the 10-year anniversary of that.
And in fact, it was 10 years ago today that a gunman rampaged that congressional event in Tucson. 6 people were killed, 13 wounded, including Gabby. It's been a long road to recovery, one that is still going.
As we approach the 10 years, I do think back to that day often. There was a moment where it was reported that Gabby had died. It was about 30 minutes. But Gabby's pretty tough. Gabby's pretty tough.
Really tough.
On January 8th, 2011, a gunman shot into a crowd at a local meet and greet with their Congresswoman, Gabby Giffords, killing 6 and injuring 13, including Gabby, shot point blank in the head.
How about 2 fingers?
It was a grueling recovery process, hospitalized for months, having to relearn not just how to walk, but how to talk.
I'm from Arizona. You're stepping away. Tucson, Arizona.
But years of pain and hard work and her continued struggle to speak have not diminished Gabby's sparkle or her sass.
So as you saw, that went further about the things that she's gone through, the degrees of pain and rehabilitation just to speak again. So while Republicans like Jim Lamon like to play cowboy and think it's funny to go shooting at your political opponents in a fictional setting like that, I think they know. I was gonna say they don't realize, but they do know that their followers are rampant. Their followers think that's fun. Their followers like to pick up their guns and go, I haven't shot anything but cans in a while. Let's shoot some humans. And in fact, this is a good idea. Let's shoot up some more people. It's not like I'm making it up. They do it. They talk about how they dream about doing it. So if you think, this is just fun and games, it's just a political ad. Number one, what does that have to do with the things that you want to change? What are you gonna do about those gas prices from a man that's sitting on a carriage that takes gas? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to make sense. Let's just get to shooting at our political opponents because that's fun, Rick.
Right. You took the words out of my mouth with, and those gas prices. Dude, you're on a horse. What that man, I gotta tell you though, this is a serious story, but I just have to say, that man, if he follows through with that thing of like envisioning bad gas prices, he should definitely get into the oil industry.
Yeah, if he
that
already
man
knows,
will be worth trillions of dollars. Trillions. He's already got it. He has 1 horsepower. So, on a serious note, people died when Gabby Giffords was shot. Yep. I'm glad that you guys played the piece of her rehabbing because that is the epitome of a base that just simply can't relate. They think like, we're gonna take up arms and I have to own a gun. And yet when they say, well, she was just shot, she looks fine now. They never really think from a humane perspective of how she got to being kind of what she was previously. Like obviously that takes something out of you. That base would have to agree. Like the not only physical effects of it, but the emotional effects of it. I don't know what she was diagnosed with.
You've been through rehab. You've been through physical rehab.
Not like this.
No, that's what I'm saying. But that's my point. It's not even with your brain. It was with your leg, right? And that was grueling. Imagine with your brain. And people go, oh, like you said, oh, she survived. That's not a big deal. She made it.
Right.
So what about the trauma from that? What about every time you go to a different event? What about every time you walk in front of another grocery store or an area that looks anything like that? They don't care. Exactly. It's about getting in office and be like, look at those bad guys, shoot them.
If I may.
Yeah.
Eric Swalwell had, and I know like, we go back and forth on like good, bad, Dem, but like he did say something that I agree with. He tweeted, Republicans don't have any ideas to help you and they can't win elections. So they've gone all in on using violence as a path to power. Completely agree. Completely agree.
They say that.
Right. What I find pretty interesting though is like, this is a Super Bowl ad. A few years ago, I did a piece on a medical marijuana industry trying to run a Super Bowl ad. And I'm not gonna say the company because I don't remember who held the rights at the time. It was like 3 or 4 years ago. But the broadcaster denied the medical marijuana's ad. But it's so interesting to me, like a plant that has many positive effects, and maybe Jim Lamon might want to try it every few times. Might like relax him a little, but I do find it interesting the polar opposites of what is and is not acceptable. Like gun violence, dope. Smoking marijuana, awful, can't happen.
That might kill you. Now, by the way, my last thought on this is they do take political violence and shooting seriously when it happens to Steve Scalise, as you remember, Republican that was shot at the softball practice that they had. And that was politically motivated. He shot all these rounds at all of these Congress people, and Steve Scalise was gravely injured. He went through a lot to recover. And you know what we take seriously? Steve Scalise's recovery. And we and imagine an ad where Steve Scalise is up for re-election. I know this is Gabby Giffords' husband because she's not in politics right now. I wonder why. And if someone says, we're gonna get Steve Scalise out of there, and shooting their guns in the air and try and get on a baseball field next week, Steve. Oh, come on.
I'll give you one better.
Immediate elimination.
I'll give you one better. Imagine if the shoe was on the other foot, and I just go with me here, because it'll never happen, obviously. But if the shoe were on the other foot, imagine if like Representative Omar did something like this in order to promote how tough she is and how strong she is. Can you imagine what would happen on every single right-wing outlet, every single right-wing podcast? Can you imagine what would happen? But because Jim Lamon is a conservative white guy, he's allowed to shoot at people, even though those people have their lives threatened every day. And the wife of one of those people, according to him, died when she was shot. And she was also, this is also another thing, the outreach that they had, and then we can move on. The outreach that they had, she was doing a public event for constituents. She was trying to have like a face-to-face conversation with anyone who wanted to have one. And for that, she was shot by someone at point blank range.
In the head.
Terrible.
Wonder what they were looking to do to her. It doesn't matter. They don't care.